set up on Rumble. Having some technical difficulties. Just bear with your boy. Trying to get Rumble to come pull up. We're just gonna shut off Rumble for right now because Rumble is not cooperating right now with your boy. So we just gonna stick with Twitch. We're just gonna stick with Twitch and YouTube Live. So, it's your boy Big Truck. You already know what time it is. Hey, conversation and reviews. I had to go do live this morning and, tap into some things. Please go ahead and chime in if you on Twitch, if you on YouTube, and come join your boy. Sure. Good morning, Kings. Peace, love, and blessings to you all. We have a morning discussion calling all kings to the table. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Very, 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 very interesting. I got both chats open. Please feel free to chime in, leave a message. Let me know you here. If you're tuning in, put a number 1 in the chat, and we'll go from there. Now, with this whole thing here about what's going on or what has happened with Trump doing what he doing and doing what he do, people got mixed messages about it. Of course, the liberals, they got something to say. Shoot, when do they don't have nothing to say? But it seems like everybody want to take shots at Trump. And it's quite amazing how large number of individuals want to take shots at Trump, you know? And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. Peace, love, and blessings to all. Again, if you haven't already, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. If you chiming in, please put a number 1 in the chat. So without further ado, shout out to my man, Officer Tatum, one officer to another, as a CO and celebrity bodyguard. But without further ado, grab your shoulder pads and your helmet. Peep this out.
About TatumStore.com, TatumStore.com, ladies and gentlemen, tis the season for 4th of July. So get you some 4th of July merch. Make sure you put USA 20. I can wear it and show you. But this one right here, all we do is product has been fulfilled. Shipping will be with and less rule of thumb. We will do some juicy stuff, right? Because I want to talk about, I'm going to start with Caroline Levitt. Then we're going to go through the methodical process it is. The Democrats are trying to act like, maybe I won't go to Caroline Levitt. Hold on a second. The Democrats are trying to act like Donald Trump somehow violated the Constitution or committed a war crime by doing what he did. Now, I can read this at another time and you guys can read it too, but it's called the War Power Act. And Donald Trump, through the War Powers Act, has the right, without congressional approval, for him to do what he did. That's why nothing is ever going to come of this. But you got to be the R word for you to somehow think that makes sense. Now, the Democrats are trying to use this as a campaign slogan, just like they did the illegals, but clearly that didn't work out. You see how that's been going? So they need to find a new reason.
Not only that, but what they try to do with the deportation and so forth. I like what Arnold Schwarzenegger said on that. What Arnold Schwarzenegger, he spoke on it, and then old girl tried to tap his shoulder because he was saying something real. He was spitting that truth. He was spitting that firebomb. Schwarzenegger said he was an illegal immigrant when he came to America. But he got his papers the right way. He went through the process the right way. There's a large number of individuals that came here illegal, but did the proper paperwork and went through the proper process. You see? And I get it. Ever since Biden was letting illegal immigrants come in, it just messed up everything. But here's the thing. Why did he allow so many illegal immigrants to come into the United States? Because he needed that vote. See, and it wasn't until a large number of individuals started paying attention and really watching and really observing and really researching the whole thing. Okay.
Going to be mad at Donald Trump.
Let me just put this in some context here. Negotiations were moving forward, and I give credit to the Trump administration. They were helping bring the parties together, negotiating to keep Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. Benjamin Netanyahu has never wanted to rely on negotiations. He has wanted to engage in military actions. He saw his opportunity. He shoved the president aside and the president's negotiation and moved forward, and then turned around and managed to pull Donald Trump in, who in turn seems to be working hard to pull the entire United States into war in Iran. The Constitution is clear. Only Congress can declare war. We all understand there are exceptions when our troops are at risk, when our homeland is at risk, when Americans are at risk.
But let me say this. How many times a president has done something without Congress and no one has said nothing? Don't worry, I'll wait. I'll drink my mushroom coffee and wait. Because they haven't. Okay? Large number of individuals, man, let's be honest. let's be real about it. Let's be adult about the whole damn thing. Y'all got a problem with Trump. Okay? Trump's coming in and he handling business. He's standing on business, sitting on chrome. And y'all and y'all got a problem with it. Y'all liberals and Democrats got a problem with it. The icebreaker was really during the presidential election when so many men and women that were Democrat all of a sudden started going towards Republican. That pissed y'all off, really. I mean, we seeing motherfuckers crashing out left and right and left. And you can't trust the news media for shit because they'll look you right in your face and lie to you. So what's really going on? You know what? It's hurting Democrats' pockets. It's hurting y'all. It's killing y'all pockets. Trump said he was going to do what he was going to do, and he stood on that. But it's affecting y'all pockets. And y'all losing power. Y'all losing control bit by bit. That's why a large number of y'all crashing out. That's why y'all trying to find anything to say to incriminate this man's name. You may not, fair enough, even if you say, you know what? I don't like Trump because of X, Y, and Z, but he's a good businessman. And any good businessman, business owner would know that. Yeah, you know, Trump had businesses and he went bankrupt and so forth, to that and the third. But guess what? He's still a good businessman. He's still up and running. He's still opening up doors. Say what you want, but the man is still opening up doors. I really don't get much into politics because that's not my thing. That's not my tea. But I know bullshit when I see it. And when I see bullshit, I call that out.
None of those apply in this case. What Donald Trump has done is unconstitutional. And we're going to have a vote this week in the United States Senate on the War Powers Act. And this is our opportunity. It only takes a simple majority to reel back in Donald Trump and make clear to the world that the United States is not going to war against Iran.
House Intelligence Committee, one of the members of the so-called Gang of Eight, said he found out about the strikes on Twitter. Listen to this. Listen to what he said.
I learned about this strike last night on Twitter, which, as you point out, is an uncomfortable thing for the ranking member of the Intelligence Committee, particularly given the fact that the whole premise here is that something changed, right? That, Prime Minister Netanyahu made reference to new intelligence. There was some mention of it this morning. So bad enough that we weren't informed, but, unconstitutional that we didn't have the opportunity to debate and speak as the representatives of the people on what is one of the more consequential foreign policy things that this country has done in a long time.
Now, we're hearing incredibly optimistic views coming out of the White House as far as how long this can hold and what this is going to look like. That obviously still remains to be seen on the implementation side of this, and waiting to see if the firing does stop and if Iran and Israel do both agree to this. Because, speaking of the fluidity of the situation, it was just 24 hours ago that President Trump himself was suggesting a regime change in Iran was a possibility. And obviously right before that, having the United States strike Iran. And so, yes, there have been a lot of phone calls going back and forth. In part, this has to do with Iran's limited response earlier, where they fired on a U.S. base in Qatar, but there were no casualties. We know that they did give a heads up that they were going to be firing on U.S. bases without exactly specifying which ones. But that is the question here, is if the United States felt that it did not need to respond to the Iranian retaliation, did that create the space for this? That is what we've been hearing from administration officials. And so the question is whether or not this still holds for the next few hours.
Caitlin, I just been given word that Iran, according to a diplomat who briefed CNN, Iran has agreed to the ceasefire. So this is significant. I just want to try to learn some more information.
Of course they did, because Trump put some heat on that ass. Trump warned him. Trump had to thump him a little bit. And see, this is what a large number of individuals don't understand and it's not getting. What Trump did, I believe, to my understanding, no president has done. He basically came in and just destroyed their hidden plans, their hidden agenda. He basically stopped the potential of World War III. Let's continue.
As soon as we get it about that. But if that is the case, that's incredibly significant, because that is, we were waiting. We had not heard from Iran. We had not heard from Israel. All we were going on so far has been the president's social media post, which was some 2 hours ago. So again, that is the first indication we have that Iran has agreed to this.
And here is some of the reasons. And I will have Caroline Levy go first. And then we're going to show. Now, let me do Obama. Let me have Obama go first, because I want this to be very clear. Why didn't anybody say nothing to Barack Obama when he said these things? Why did Sonny Holston and the Democrats not come out and say he violated the Constitution or he violated the law? He should be put in prison after he said this stuff and he made these decisions. Roll the clip.
Today, I authorized 2 operations in Iraq. Targeted airstrikes to protect our American personnel. Last night, on my orders, America's armed forces began strikes against ISIL targets in Syria. Today, the American people give thanks for the extraordinary service of our men and women in uniform. Today, I authorized the armed forces of the United States to begin a limited military action in Libya. That action has now begun. Make no mistake, this is a difficult mission. Will remain difficult for some time. It's going to take time to dislodge these terrorists, especially from urban areas. If the United States has Al-Qaeda, bin Laden, top-level lieutenants in our sights, and Pakistan is unable or unwilling to act, then we should take them out.
Oh. Sure, that's unconstitutional, right?
Brother Tatum, they have a problem with Trump. Trump don't play ball. Trump can be controlled. You see, Trump is not a puppet. Need I say more? Okay? If that was the case, again, if that was the case, you're right. How come they didn't say the same thing about Trump to Obama? And even the presidents before Obama. Why only Trump? Because you know why? Everything Trump stood for and Trump said he was going to do, he did. Trump is against the code. Trump don't play ball. There's a lot of things that Trump speaks on that he is against. He is for what is right. He's not for the fuckery. You're not going to manipulate him. And I believe a statement came up about trying to have him impeached. To me, that's a hoax. To me, that's bullshit. Y'all ain't going to do nothing. Democrats is mad. The Democratic Party hate this man. Look at the narratives that they're putting on social media about him. And the shit ain't even true. And one thing I like about Trump, he calls that shit out. Certain news media he calls out. He's letting them know that he know what they doing.
Is that unconstitutional? Oh, when Barack Obama did it, nobody said anything. Let's go to Caroline Levitt real quick. We're going to go to Charlemagne. We'll go to Fetterman, and then we're going to play Sonny Host in the clip that you guys have been waiting to listen to. Roll the clip.
So as this operation takes place, Democrats said they were not told about it. They were left in the dark, and they said usually there's bipartisan calls for this, and they didn't know about it. Here is Republican Thomas Massey.
We haven't been briefed. They should have called us all back. And frankly, we should have debated this war powers resolution that Ro Khanna and I offered instead of staying on vacation and doing fundraisers and saying, oh, well, the president's got this under control. We're going to cede our constitutional authority.
Should you have called everybody back?
First of all, we did make bipartisan calls. Thomas Massey and the Democrats, he should be a Democrat because he's more aligned with them than with the Republican Party. We're given notice. The White House made calls to congressional leadership.
Let me just say this. I like her. I like her because she sits on business. And she stands on business and sit on chrome. I mean, imagine if they did consult with the Democrats. What I guarantee you, they would have did and said any and everything in their power to keep Trump from doing what he did. When it comes to doing the right things for the people, the Democrats get mad because it's not benefiting them. No, asshole. It's about doing what is right.
They were bipartisan calls. In fact, Hakeem Jeffries couldn't be reached. We tried him before the strike and he didn't pick up the phone, but he was briefed after, as well as Chuck Schumer was briefed prior to the strike. So this notion that CNN ran with at the White House did not give a heads up to Democrats is just completely false. In fact, both Senator Schumer's office and CNN had to retract that story last night because it was a blatant lie. And we showed them the timestamps from those phone calls. But I want to add something to Thomas Massey's false points. The White House was not obligated to call anyone because the president was acting within his legal authority under Article 2 of the Constitution as commander-in-chief.
Thank you. Like he has to let y'all know everything. He did what was in the Constitution. He did what was in the moves that Trump made. He followed presidential policies, presidential protocol. That's what he did. And those that have a problem with what he did, we already know who they are. Because what they have done was expose themselves. And that's the Democratic Party, the liberals. This is another reason why your boy Big Truck kind of stay away from politics. Because I know what I know. I listen, I pay attention. I look into things instead of looking at things. I don't just listen to a certain individual say and then take that shit and run fucking 8 miles with it. If something doesn't resonate and sit right here, I have a reason, I have a right to research that. I have a reason, I have a right to ask questions in order to get certain answers. I don't discriminate against no one, but at the same time, I know bullshit people when I see bullshit people. I work in a federal prison. I do celebrity bodyguard. So therefore, I'm trained to listen. I'm trained to observe and report. I'm trained to de-escalate. I'm trained to escalate if it's time to go hands-on. Everything that Officer Tatum is saying, I agree with. One law enforcement to another. And I respect what he says. Go to his channel, subscribe to his channel, show the brother some love. Let's continue to get this work. Shoulder pads and helmet. Let's go.
Of the President of the United States. We gave these calls as a courtesy, and the Democrats are lying about this because they can't talk about the truth of the success of that operation and the success of our United States military and the success of this president and this administration in doing something that past administrations, Democrats too, have only dreamed about.
Yeah.
She cooking.
I like her. I like her.
She my favorite, by the way.
And she's sexy.
There have been other great spokespersons for the White House, but Caroline Leavitt is on another level. I think so. I think they just get better. If somebody can get better than Caroline Leavitt, I'm going to pass out. Caroline Leavitt was right on point. What are y'all talking about? They lied.
I like her better
First
than
of all,
Kamala
Trump don't
Harris.
have to say nothing to you, fool. What do you got? We need to call back all of Congress for them to fly in. Okay, let's do that. It take a week, and then they argue about it. That's 2 weeks, 3 weeks. That's why government don't get sugar, honey, iced tea done. Not a doggone thing.
Yep.
If y'all got to come and talk about it and get in a circle and cry and debate and do it. No, man, we just gonna take care of business. That's why we voted for the man.
They sit up there and they cry and they act like bitches. They crash out, whine and complain. Sit up there and try to debate. Then they throwing word salad, toss salad. They throwing certain things and saying certain things out there, putting that out there in the atmosphere. And then folk taking it. And then they going on social media spinning their own narratives on it. Instead of just looking back, taking things for what it is. Take the truth for what it is. Again, like I said, you might not like the man, but you will respect the man. Businessman, it is what it is. Okay? And we seen it from the protests. Now it's coming out in the open. People as myself and other individuals that covered the protest thing, those are Antifas. Those are people that get paid. Okay, George Soros, yeah, your name came up many times. Black Lives Matter, yeah, y'all names came up many times. Should we continue to have this conversation? Trying to get the blacks and Latinos to go against each other for what? Coming to find out, a lot of those Latinos and some of those blacks too were getting paid between $200 to $300 a day. Shit, man. Want to continue to talk? Well, we saw those arrests. Yeah, but if you look close enough, those paid protesters was the one that got arrested, got taken to a certain location, and got let go. Tell the people what they don't know. Stop it. Tell the truth, shame the devil. You got to look into this shit. I'm telling you, people. I'm here on TikTok, flipping and sipping, and I'm seeing all this shit. I love my Latinos. I love the Latino community. Okay? I love all community. Period. It don't matter who you are, what race you are, where you come from. I love you all. I don't have hatred in my heart. Well, Big Truck, you black? Yeah. I'm half Jamaican and Samoan, yeah. And Indian, yeah. But guess what? The way I was raised Caribbean culture. Don't get it twisted. I don't have hatred. I don't go around hating every race. For what? I embrace and love every race. Let's continue the feast.
The commander-in-chief, if he believes it is right, then he needs to do what he needs to do. None of them said that they need to do this when Barack Obama's in office, and I can say that 200 million times. Let's go to Charlemagne real quick. And he's you know, I don't really like Charlemagne that much, but sometimes he fall and slip on his head and bump it and say something that makes sense.
True.
You see how weak he is. This dude right here, I think he closeted. Why you say he closeted? This dude is some of the, he say some of the weakest, most feminine, emasculated stuff I've ever heard in my life. He acts like he's an emasculated man. And then look behind him. Love is love. If you don't get that, all right, let me stop. Go ahead.
This is one of those times where politicians sound like hypocrites because Mark Kelly is right. Presidents should get congressional approval, but there have been a bunch of presidents who have ordered strikes without congressional approval. Barack Obama did it against Libya. Joe Biden ordered strikes in Iraq and Syria without congressional approval. Bill Clinton did it to was it Kosovo? I think you pronounce it. So presidents ordering military action without congressional approval has become pretty routine. So is it always a thing when they do it? I'm just asking. I don't know.
No. Well, this is where those articles of impeachment come up. Then that's why House Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she actually says that President Trump's decision to strike Iran could lead to impeachment.
So why didn't I'm just saying? So why didn't it lead to impeachment for everybody else? Like when Barack Obama did it, when Biden did it,
but it has, you know, not that it necessarily. Well, the people in Congress or congressional members will call for it. Does it necessarily mean that that they'll move forward with the impeachment process? Not necessarily, but there have been times in the past that these congressional members have called for impeachment of the president because of their military actions or actions that they've taken with the military without having that congressional.
I don't even.
It hasn't been this much backlash.
Yeah, I don't even remember
Trump.
hearing about it during the Joe Biden administration.
But I guess that's because the way Trump has been moving. But we haven't heard about it when Obama did it. We didn't hear about it when Biden did it.
I do remember when Obama did it. When Obama did it, I do remember. You know, people in Congress saying he needed congressional approval and they were making it a thing. I don't remember the Biden thing at all. I don't remember that even making a headline.
I was going to say I don't recall, but people were very upset about the way that he. I mean, that went without that. People were very upset about the way that he withdrew from Afghanistan. I mean, that was certainly a thing as well. I mean, they were it was a thing.
Yeah, the only reason I know about Biden because I read an article on NBC News last night that was literally about this. It was the headline was "Presidents ordering military action without congressional approval has become routine," and it talked about Biden citing Article Number 2 in the Constitution, which makes the president commander in chief, and I guess basically saying he don't need congressional approval, and that's when he ordered the strikes in Iraq and Syria.
Yeah, you don't need. If they wanted to change it, Congress, you get off their ashy elbows and do something about it. Congress don't do nothing but sit around and complain and argue with each other all day. They don't get nothing done. I'm not saying that in totality. It just appears to be that way at times, that they don't get anything done. If you don't think the president should have these actions, why don't you vote on it? Why don't y'all get a resolution going? They don't do nothing.
Because a lot of them don't. A lot of them choose not to because where they stand and where they sit, they in that comfortable place. And being in that comfortable place, why should you do anything? If in your mind, everything is running smoothly, why have change?
Doing nothing for illegal aliens or against or for, they do nothing. They literally, when one person's in power, the other side don't want to cooperate. When one side in power, the other side don't want to cooperate. I see why Republicans don't want to cooperate because the Democrats are evil devils. Many of them are devils, they're disingenuous, and they lie to the American people on a day-to-day basis. This is point blank one of the clear messages. All of a sudden, they're outraged that Donald Trump has done this. But they're not saying anything about the fact that Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. They don't say anything about nothing that makes sense if a Republican does it.
They're not looking at the fact of the reason why he did it. And actually, it was something that was beneficial. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes a person can do something and say something that'll be beneficial. They're not saying that. They just solely focused on him. You see? They don't like the fact that what he's doing is right. They don't like the fact that what he's doing is he's standing on business. They don't like the fact that how could he go in and do what any other president has not done? So again, you have to look into these things and be real about it. If you're not being real about it, man, dude, for real. Like I said, say what you want. You know, me personally, when it comes to voting, I kind of, I kind of just, that's y'all thing. Because I know what I know, number one. And number two, I know a few people in high places. So I get the heads up and I move accordingly.
And I hope that the American people can see it. Now let me go with John Fetterman real quick, and then we're gonna get to Miss Dum Dum. All right, this is him being on Fox talking about Donald Trump and AOC when it comes to the impeachment of Donald Trump strikes. Roll the clip.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says the president shouldn't be impeached because he's impulsive. What do you think of that?
No, I mean, of course, no. She knows it. I know it. We all know it. That's not going anywhere. And, he's been impeached twice, and now he's still our president as well now, too. So it's not going anywhere, and I don't think that's helpful. And I think if you throw that term around, that actually diminishes what the severity of what impeachment is really reserved for.
Thank you, Fetterman. Maybe when he fell and had a stroke or whatever happened to him, he woke up from being a Democrat, because he actually makes sense sometimes. But when you just thought to yourself, wow, some Democrats may have good sense. Maybe people are starting to wake up. Let me break your bubble real quick. Put Sonny Hostin on there. I wanted to say a joke, but I can't do it because I'm trying to be a good Christian. I often say Sonny Hostin with the emphasis on. All right. Let's play her clip and listen to what she got to say. The dumbest woman on planet Earth. Joy Reid got second to her in this last race to stupidity. Roll the clip.
Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have called into question the constitutionality of Donald Trump's actions. He bypassed Congress, potentially violated the War Powers Resolution. I believe this is certainly a clear violation of international law at the very least. Democratic House Leader Hakeem Jeffries accused the president of misleading the country as to his intentions. What do you think are the possible ramifications that President Trump could face for arguably overstepping his authority?
Well, look, constitutionally, only Congress has the power to declare war. The War Powers Act would make it seem very clear you need to have congressional approval on this. But president after president after president has launched military action without the approval of Congress. Yeah. And Congress, under Democratic and Republican leadership, has complained the president is violating the War Powers Act.
How is the president violating those presidential policies if president after president after president after president has done the same damn thing and didn't do it, and you're not coming after them? I'm waiting. You've not came after them. But all of a sudden, Trump done this thing, and y'all coming after him. Okay.
This is not new. I mean, I go back. I covered Bill Clinton and the military strikes against Kosovo back in 1999. Again,
That's why I think it's more of an international law violation.
But you know, look, it's a Republican Congress right now. I don't think he's not getting any blowback from within his own party, with the exception of Tom Massie.
So what's the good of having it then, if they all violate it?
Well, that's a great question. I mean,
we've been using the 2003 AUMF to authorize every military strike in about 25 years. So Congress can't be feckless and then be mad when they don't like the outcome.
Yeah, so that was after 9/11. Congress passed this authorization of military force against. It was supposed to be against Afghanistan.
Yeah.
For harboring Al Qaeda, and it has been used over and over and over and over again.
Let me tell you this. This is the funny thing. Like, when it comes to this War Powers Act, this is why Donald Trump, in my opinion, is brilliant, and these people are stuck on stupid, because they want to be stuck on stupid. Here's some key components to the War Powers Act, and I'm going to tell you how I think Donald Trump did exactly what he's supposed to do and circumvented this entirely, because the president should be able to do what he did and not have to wait for Congress to do nothing, okay? I'm just going to read real quick. It says the War Powers Resolution of 1973, commonly called the War Powers Act, is a federal law aimed to limit the president's ability to engage in U.S. forces in hostilities without congressional approval. It was passed in the wake of Vietnam War to reassert congressional authority over war making, right? Here's some key components. Notification requirement. The president must notify Congress within 48 hours of committing armed forces to military action. 60-day limit. The president can only keep U.S. forces in combat for 60 days with a 30-day withdrawal period, unless congressional authorization or Congress authorizes the full force, the use of force, or declare war, okay? Congressional oversight. Congress can demand the removal of troops with a concurrent resolution. Okay, so critics say this: White House has not confirmed a 48-hour formal notification yet, triggering congressional concerns. Okay, but here's also the thing: there was no troops used, no troops, boots on the ground. Were we really acting in war? Now, let me say this. Donald Trump did give phone calls to congressional leaders. I would argue that Donald Trump would say, because remember when he was on there, he said, I'm going to go back in a week or two or something to decide what I'm going to do. That was 48 hours before Donald Trump actually did the strikes.
So therefore, he followed presidential policies, protocol. He followed that. Another thing that hits my spirit. Could it be that the Democrats have their hands in something? Could it be that the Democrats have their hands in something? And what Trump did kind of shook that up? Raising an eyebrow. Okay.
So I would argue calling and saying that you're going to communicate or giving any indication whatsoever, which he called Hakeem Jeffries and them and they timestamped it, is sufficient before you have to make a strike. You don't have to wait for them to answer the phone and do all that. You can make a strike. Here's what happened against Soleimani. It says Trump ordered the drone strike to kill General Qasem Soleimani. Justification is that the administration claimed it was a defense action to prevent imminent action or attacks. Trump notified Congress within 48 hours via a letter. However, Democrats and critics argued the notification was vague. So no matter what he does, they are going to have a problem with it. He notified them and they go as vague. Well, what do you want him to do?
Vague or not, he followed protocol. He did what he was supposed to do. It's not Trump's fault that y'all asses got a problem with him. Y'all know what he did was right. Y'all know that he followed presidential policies. Y'all have a problem with him. It's personal. See? And this is, I mean, it's obvious. Y'all are making this shit so obvious that you have a problem with him. that this is personal. Why is it so personal?
Now look at this. Congress passed a war powers resolution in February of 2020 aimed at limiting Trump's ability to take further military action against Iran without approval. But Trump vetoed it, and Congress did not override the veto. So they tried to do the little shenanigans. Trump vetoed it anyway. So there's no exclusive, nuanced power that they now have to stop Donald Trump from doing what he's doing. If they really wanted to get something done when Biden was in office, they could have passed the resolution in, but they didn't do anything.
No, the reason why they didn't do anything is because their pockets was getting fat. Let's be real about it. Their pockets was getting fat. So you mean to tell me messing over Americans, okay, come up with all these policies that benefits them, y'all okay with that? Because that's fattening your pockets. Anytime you have a war, that's a big money maker. Anytime you have national disasters, that's a big money maker. You got to have that in order to make billions and billions and billions of dollars. The shit that's going on in LA, big dog, you can't tell me it ain't bringing in no money, because it is. Other individuals just don't see it. But how many times do we have to tell you? Me, Officer Tatum, Black conservative representatives, and a few other content creators that stand on business and sit on Chrome, they doing the shit right in front of your face. When the government do something, they don't make no mistake. They meant to do it. And the more people that we get opening up their eyes, the more people we get seeing it and calling it out, that's gonna shake them up even more. Because we're seeing what you're doing. We're seeing what you're trying to do, and it's not working. Okay? Just like the whole COVID-19 thing. That was like the biggest joke ever. Because you know it is. You never heard nothing about the flu. You never heard nothing about AIDS and STDs. Think about it. But that's all COVID-19 was a flu. They took the flu and they gave it another damn name. And they fucked y'all minds up with that. Had y'all thinking this was a real outbreak. Y'all fell for the banana in the tailpipe. Y'all even fell for as much as wearing a fucking mask. Then people start wearing those masks, stealing, robbing, doing things to people. Well, we wearing a mask. You can't tell who we are. Then that shit had to stop. Oh, the biggest kicker to me, well, one of the biggest kicker was social distancing, 6 feet. Oh man, the biggest joke. Then the number one, if you don't take the berry punch, you got to lose your job. You got to lose your job. Ain't nobody going for that. No one's going for that anymore. People started paying attention. People started reading between the lines. Then they had to fall back.
Okay. And there's other situations that, people want to articulate from other wars, the Syrian airstrikes as well in 2017 and 18. But according to my little document here, it says Trump, hold on, let me see if these go together. I think it says Trump complied with the notification provision of the War Act. Many Congress, mostly Democrats, but some Republicans too, felt Trump stretched executive authority and sidestep congressional authorization, especially with the Soleimani strike. But if you look at what he did, you can argue whether he did it right or he did it on time or he did it formally or informally. I think Donald Trump did what was right, and we executed flawlessly. And I think a president shouldn't have to go through the Congress that we have that gets nothing done in order to get things done on behalf of the United States of America. Point blank, period. All right?
So with that being said, I want to thank each and every individual for tuning in. And let me know your thoughts. On Twitch, YouTube, let me know your thoughts. I always want to hear people's feedback because on this channel, this is your safe space. You're not going to be judged, not going to be disrespected. And I'm going to get back to you. But on that note, it's your boy Big Truck going ahead and be the best version of yourself for many people to see. Take that with you and go be great.